about The Last of Us 2. In particular, how I think the story should have gone. I'm watching his video and he's got me really thinking about how the story could have gone. And I would like to throw my own little spin on how the game should have gone in my personal opinion. This is from a fan's point of view, not a professional writer, not a professional storyteller. Best stories I've ever written is something in a journal when I was just bored in class. So bear with me when I say any of this. By the way, if you've never seen this video, if you don't know who this is, which I don't, that's crazy if you don't know who this is, closer look. You need a closer look. I know, I just couldn't wait to use that joke. I couldn't help. But let's talk about how I think the game should go. My personal opinion. One, the game should be happening in tandem. That should be rare to any flashbacks unless it is necessary to understand who is who and why. I think the game should start with us playing with Joel, personally. Why? I think this is why. Joel should be the first one we play with, him and his brother. So we can address what the plot would be. The plot is going to start off simply as them going to go get supplies or making a simple run that isn't so simple anymore because they have to take a detour for any particular reason. From the original path, let's say they're thrown off for any particular reason. Let's say a bunch of affected, it's a new kind of affected, a brand new one that they were hunting down or did something to the home or something like that for them to, anything to get them out of point A so they can go to point B. So point B should be somewhere extremely far, and point B should be something that keeps Joel and Tommy completely locked away from everybody else. Why? So I can move on to the other two characters that will be playable. Abby and Ellie. I think wholeheartedly one other thing that should be said is the game should be happening in tandem. You should be able to play with three different characters from the same points of views. Different points of views, but at the same time in the game. I think we should start, like I said, we start off with Joel, and I say we go immediately to Abby. We have Abby seeming like she's here to help, but obviously she wouldn't be here to help. She's more of hunting down, let's say, he has to make a radio call that they intercept and they see that it is him and they have his name confirmed and everything. So everyone else who's playing will just assume, oh, Abby's part of a rescue team or something. And I say we play for a good 15 to 20 minutes of her before switching to Ellie for a smooth, good transition. Maybe even 30 minutes before getting to Ellie. Ellie would of course be doing the same thing, but we would carefully make sure the dialogue is crisp for one in particular reason. To seem like we sent a rescue team and thinking that Abby would be part of that rescue team. But Abby would not be a part of the rescue team. Abby would be, obviously trying to kill Joel. So I say a good half of the game should be trying to get to Joel. That's what it should be, to me personally. I say another good thing that should happen would have to be not just them playing in tandem, but able to switch between the two of them on will. Why? Because they should be able to meet up eventually. Abby should be obviously ahead of Ellie because she would be leaving earlier than Ellie. So Ellie should eventually be able to cross paths with her, and they should probably not state the obvious reason. They should have like one of those miscommunication type moments where they're like, oh, I'm hunting for a friend of mine, a father figure, if will. She's like, I'm hunting somebody down to kill. But not stating names. I say they should both work together and they should all be able to, team up together and be friends and all this and whatnot, while they all just talking amongst themselves, having campfires and all this other stuff. I say a good half of the game should be that. Should be them basically just going for Joel, fighting infected, and talking, while having moments of understanding each other and understanding who is who and what is what and why is why. by obviously skipping out the names, playing the pronoun game would be the best way to go about this. With her to not say his name, but because let's say she's suspicious, but doesn't know why she's suspicious. She has a feeling, Abby has a feeling to not say Joel's name. Same with Ellie. They both have feelings of not saying Joel's name, but they don't know why yet. They say they keep chasing after until eventually they see the radio. Let's say Ellie has a radio, okay? And it's picking up the signal of where, or in the general direction of where he may be. But it's not confirmed, basically. Let's say we play a good 2 to 3 hours. I say a good 2 to 3 hours of fighting through with a little bit of backstory. Like, let's say sleep segments. Like, let's say Ellie would go to sleep in a cutscene and we will play out like a nice little thing of her and Joel, because she's worried about Joel, obviously. We don't know what's wrong with Joel. We don't know if anything else is wrong because we only knew to what we did. We don't know what else is going on, anything like that. We have zero clue. And we should also be able to, if I should say that this may be a little tricky because this is where I would probably reach a point of hitting the wall here. But Abby's part, should Abby have dreams also, and should we be able to play them? If we are able to play them, should we just play her father things also? Like her having, moments with her father also. Her having memories, like anything that happens. Like let's say they're attacked by whoever else. They throw a bomb, beep, 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 boom. They throw the bomb, and once they throw the bomb, she's knocked out, and for like a good 5 or 3 minutes we should be able to have like a short little segment with her and her father, like the entire thing with I think whatever animal it was that was stuck. We should be able to play like things like that should be played right then and there. Then we move on to, I say, a good hours into the game, the halfway point, the official halfway point before we go into the downward descent to where the game changes overall. Let's say Abby has a team already on their way to rescue them. And so I'm sorry, I was trying to think of it I'm trying to think of it also while I'm still talking, which is not good at all, but you'll see why I'm doing any of this, because it's just my opinion, which will make this game better, personally. Another good thing a thing to move the story forward would be the obvious midpoint, would be the shifting of the gears, because at this point it was a bunch of skinning by your teeth, scared of everything. You weren't really sure what was going on. You're not sure who this character is, not sure who you are, and all this other stuff. You become more friends with this character eventually, and having a familiar bond. You've bond with the dog. You've bond with her friends. You've all had laughable moments. You went from intense pointing the guns at each other to now able to hug each other and make sure the opposite is safe. Why is this important? For later down the line. Now, let's get to Joel. This will be the point where we still don't know what's wrong with Joel, but we know he's not picking up the radio anymore. But we know the last signal being from here. We say that, once again, neither one is communicating the full reason that they are there, but got a gist of an idea. Basically, like I stated, Ellie would be there to save Joel, and Abby would be there to kill Joel, but neither one stated names, so they just think, oh, you're here to kill someone, fine. You're here to help someone, fine. We'll tag along, it's fine. Let's work together, just don't stab me in the back, I won't stab you in the back, type stuff. And eventually they get to Joel, and once they get to Joel, this is where the bombshell hits. I think Ellie should walk in first, and I don't think what's-her-name would have an idea what Joel looks like. Unless we have any particular reason of why she would. I don't remember too much of the game, forgive me, but we don't have any particular reason why she would remember. So I say a good little bit of the game would be, once again, Ellie running into the room, hugging Joel. Let's say they had an argument or whatever the reason was. She's hugging Joel, she's happy to see Joel. Abby walks in late for any particular reason. Let's say she was defending some hordes and whatever else. And so, as everybody is just like, okay, cool, cool, yeah, happy, whatever. Um, this is when Jewel is skeptical about Abby once she sees Abby and Abby's crew. Tommy, um, Jewel immediately raise their guns to them, not knowing who they are. And then she says the name, Jewel, calm down. And then Abby has a realization, this is Jewel. She has a moment of hesitation before pulling out her gun and telling him to put his down. And everyone puts their gun down on each other. It's basically like a movie stare down. Everyone's staring at each other. Everyone's telling the opposite to put their guns down and asking what's going on here. And then Abby reveals, just screams out something like, "This son of a gun killed my father." But let's add a little bit of cuss words in there, and then we'll have like a good little song playing or whatever. Then the beat, and then just silence. Just nothing but the wind outside, and you can hear a little bit of the affected. And everyone's confused. Joel, you killed her father. He's lost. He doesn't know what's going on. She's emotional. She's highly emotional. She's ready to fire right then and there. But no one's fighting yet. Ellie's trying to talk to Abby. Abby's not listening. She doesn't care. She's face to face with the man who pulled the trigger and killed her father. She's out for blood. That's the whole reason that she's even here. She pulls the trigger. She doesn't kill him immediately. It's a graze wound. It's enough to make him fall. It's to make him push back, and enough for everyone to at least being able to run and get cover. And this would be switching from cutscene to gameplay, where we can switch back and forth between the two that are fighting. But we're not playing with Ellie right now. We're playing with Jewel. Why? I'll explain in a little bit. They would go back and forth between Jewel and Abby are going back and forth fighting. In between leaving the team, let's say a big explosion happens once again to separate everybody, and Joel is booking it. He's getting out of that. He's leaving the room, but he's trying to go after Ellie, and immediately Abby, because of her bulking size, is able to basically stop him from going back into the room and starting the fight all over again. And let's say neither one has weapons. Neither one. So it's an all-around fist fight between the two of them, and they brawl it out. They fight it out for a good little bit. You should be able to exchange and all that. No quick time events, just pure fighting it out and running away while throwing little smoke bombs and other things of the sort, but no guns. Why? Because if they had a gun, then it would be pretty over pretty quickly. You should be able to switch between the two of them, between the fights. Not so everyone actually has a moment of, who's winning? This is a good halfway point. This raises the stakes of everything to an unreal level where some people are probably going to pause the game and probably just have a moment of breath of like, what's going on here? It's probably still in shock that this is all going down. As at this point, this is when we begin the conversation explaining, you killed my father when you massacred the people in the hospital. And Joel has the realization, has a small flashback, or just a realization face before continuing the fight. And then let's say they're continuing to fight, and let's say they somehow end up in a room where a bunch of broken glass is. And that's the reason that Abby gets the upper hand, is because let's say Joel trips and hits the glass just for a few seconds, just enough for Abby to catch up. And she's beating the fuck out of him. She's beating him bad. And then Tommy steps in, which also makes the dog step in because Abby was just hit. They start to fight on the floor and everything like that. And the building is unstable because the explosion went off. So those pieces of the building still breaking apart. Everyone's trying to escape, but Abby's also just trying to kill Joel. So as everyone is also just trying to escape, I think his name is Owen. Owen tries to get Abby out of there while she's just after the blood. She tastes the blood on her fist and she just doesn't care. Not literally taste the blood on her fist, but she just doesn't care. She's here to kill Joel. Let's say The dog helps her snap out of it for particular reasons. They run out. They both run out from two very separate sides. Two separate sides. The reason for two separate sides is for two different things to go down. This is where I would say this is where the game could hit two different points. If the game would be a choice, a more of a little bit of choices for this in particular part, the death scene could happen quicker or it could happen much later. What happens is this. If, let's say, you pick Abby's side, Abby's able to immediately go after Joel with, let's say, the squadron and everything like that, and all her team goes after Joel and everyone else, and able to isolate Joel in particular because that's the whole reason. And so, with that being said, this is where I would begin the big part of the game, where the game goes down the downward spiral. This will, if you pick an Abby side, but that's only if it was a choice based. If it's not choice based and it's just a simple one story linear, because I can make a different one if I talk about choice based. I'll talk about that one in a separate video if I'm able to, if I remember to, because I have a problem with remembering at times. But here we go. Just a single story base, where it would go is a little like this. Joel, Ellie, Tommy, and the rest of the crew. I don't know the other two, I'm so sorry. They're running. Ellie's still confused, still lost, trying to talk to Joel. Joel is stunned by the whole thing. He feels bad, but he doesn't know how to apologize to her about killing her father because she's just not listening. She has that bloodlust look in her eyes. He remembers that bloodlust look. He remembers it because that was the same face he made when he killed her father. He didn't care for anyone else. He just ended everything. So she's chased. So now we're switching between two different angles. We're switching between Abby and Joel once again, back and forth. We're switching gradually between, I say, for a good 20 minutes of them kind of running around, shooting each other, and missing, obviously, because they're horseback. I wouldn't expect no one to have the perfect aim horseback at the particular moment. And it's also a small, not the biggest, but a small little blizzard going on. It's a lot of snow. So then we would get into another good part, which I think would be nice, the death of Joel. The death of Joel could be handled much better. Instead of just mostly just getting beaten, it could be by something along the lines of them once again fighting it out. But this time, let's say while they were fighting, they fell somewhat once again, where it's just them two. Joel isn't fighting back, but at the same time he is. He's defending himself, but he's not trying to kill her. He's trying to make amends for himself. He's apologizing. She's not listening. She's not caring. She's repeatedly hitting him. He's trying to restrain her so she can listen to him, but she just refuses. She repeatedly hits him. She hits him. She hits him. He drops his gun to prove that he apologizes. Because let's say he has a moment before he drops his gun where he pulls it on her, which startles her, and he really was about to pull the trigger, but he doesn't. She realizes, she sees the weakness. He drops the gun. Once he drops the gun, he holds his hands up, a bloody mess, while she's also bleeding with her fist red also. She sees the gun drops. She has a moment to think to herself, but obviously she's going to kill him still. So she begins still fighting him again, and the struggle continues. And I say the struggle should be a good 3 minutes. Why 3? The struggle should be them fighting back and forth. And once again, Joel not upright ending her, but the reason that Joel dies is something along the lines of he refuses to kill her. Or at the particular time when he could have killed her, he didn't. I guess another good thing to go back on would be stepping back a little bit when I said he points the gun at her. Let's say the dog once again comes in clutch for Abby. The dog comes in. He doesn't fully bite. You know what? I forget which hand is Joel, right hand or left hand? I forgot. Well, whichever hand he's dominant in, let the dog bite that in particular hand, and he kicks the dog off, which angers what's the name because the dog is potentially hurt. Let's say the dog has a broken leg. why. She sees the dog has a broken leg, and he once again reaches for his gun, and she begins to pummel him. But it's not a complete pummeling. He's still trying to fight back. At this point, he doesn't care anymore. He's trying to survive. He grabs the gun, but by the time he's already grabbed the gun, she already has her, let's say, shotgun. She shoots one good time. Just one. Because she only had one in the chamber, she wasted every other bullet. This one shot isn't the kill shot. It isn't. It's just the thing that rang that stopped everyone else from fighting. And Ellie's just so happened to be the first person to see Joel hit his... He doesn't fully collapse, but he's on his one knee, just one knee, in the snow, and it's cold. Abby's tired also. She's just in a bunch of water, her own bloody mess. And Owen and everyone else joins in with once again paralleling the stare down that they had when they first met to also a few moments ago from the stare down that they had to now this. Each side is on each side trying to help he's still alive. It's not the killing, that's not what's going to kill him. It's because they can't treat it right then and there. That's what kills Joel. So Abby does kill him, but it's not in the brutal way, in the mistreatment of the character in that sense. It would be like, he still dies, but it's by a different reason. You get it? It's not as bad. It's still a reason for us to hate Abby, but what we would do at this point is, as everyone walks away from each other, as Abby's still angry with rage, I say he starts to slowly die in Ellie's arms. Ellie's arms is important for one reason. He says whatever final good words he has to her before he finally passes right in front. Abby standing there, letting go of her anger finally, and happy that it's all over as they all walk away. And she's kind of like in a surreal moment where she's not really paying attention to the things surrounding her. As Owen and the rest of the crew help her get up and leave, she's still stunned by everything that just happened. Ellie, in a fit of rage, screams, "I'll kill you." She'll murder her. She'll chase her down no matter where she goes. She'll hunt her down. And then this is when the game switches to a very different gear. I say Tommy, and then we cut to them. No, we don't cut to them. We have a sad horse ride. Not too long, but a good 4 minutes or a good 5 minutes of a sad little song playing, able to just see Ellie's face, Tommy's face, and everyone else's face. Everyone's sad, they're shocked. There's smooth transitions between back and forth between Abby and Ellie. You're not playing it, but you're seeing their facial expression, seeing how they react to it differently. Abby's healing up, resting up, happy that she was able to get everything, but just doesn't feel right. Ellie, on the other hand, is pissed. She's furious, but she's more sad right now. She's not at the upright rage to just leave right now, but she is in a complete saddened state as they bury Joel. She doesn't play a song. She doesn't play on a guitar. She just cries. As she may say something to Tommy like, I remember before he left, we argued. Something like that, informing that something else happened that we really didn't get to play, we really didn't get to see, but we did see that this happened. So then we get to where everything starts to switch, where we're getting to the big part of the game where a lot of people want to get to, the end. This is where we start to make that climb to the end of the game. This is where we go to the final stretch, the final few hours of the game. We're switching once again back and forth between the two of them. I say this should be a good 5 minutes of back and forth, of showing either side by side in tandem, or switching by smooth transition by people walking in front of the camera, just to show celebration in comparison of depression, basically. I say Tommy should be the one that to end it and say something like, "I know where she is." Showing that time has passed, that Ellie is different. Ellie has gotten bigger. Ellie has gotten different. You get what I'm saying? And let's say Ellie agrees to it. After, let's say it takes a little bit though. Let's say she's not going to immediately go after him. Let's say Tommy's the reason that she goes after him. Tommy continues to try to push try to push Ellie into going after Abby, and she just doesn't care right now. She doesn't feel it. She doesn't feel it at all. She's mad. But she's more depressed than mad, to be honest. She doesn't want to eat. She doesn't want to do anything. And her friends are trying to cheer her, but it's not working. She doesn't even want to go after Abby because she doesn't know what to do. She's lost without Jewel right now. And then, and only then, because of Tommy's words, you know what he said at the end of the game that made her go after what's name one more time? That would be the reason why she gets up, finally, and she will go chase after Abby. Now, once again, once we have that happen, we will have whatever they want to have in there. I would say put something like a little bit of flashbacks of Abby at this point. Abby and her father, like, let's say making amends with her father. No flashback, more of like a dream thing where she's like, she thinks now it's all over and everything like that. She's all peaceful and everything. Her friends are alive. Friends may be a little wounded, but no one's dead. She's able to go on the adventures that she still did with on the other ones, but they're much shorter. Like, she still meets the other two, what's the names? I forget what the Scars or whatever they were called. She's still able to meet them. She's able to friend them. And she starts to try to redeem herself because she feels bad after this whole thing with Jewel. She may have killed him, but it wasn't what she really needed. She should have listened to Jewel. She should have talked, but she didn't talk it out. And because she didn't, she has this weird feeling. I say, once again, we should have like a symbol, like a big symbol between Jewel. Not Jewel. A symbol between Abby and Ellie. That should be something that keeps reminding her of Ellie, but she doesn't know why. Abby's right now on, let's say, she's on a road of redemption, while Ellie is on a road of vengeance. As she tries to make vengeance for killing the Scars and stuff like that, whatever they were called, I'm so sorry for not remembering. But, it's not so long. It's like a simple, like a good 15 to 20, maybe even 30, 35 minutes of a few little fetches to do to help with like the arm thing and everything like that. But I would keep things like that in there. And her like secretly helping him with her friends, also secretly helping. But other than that, everything else would be very different. Now we would begin where this time I would take out what's the name coming, because at this point we would already know that she's pregnant, because it would something I think we should know. I don't think she should come. She shouldn't. We would have homeboy that died for no good reason. I'm sorry, he should never died. He comes, and Tommy and Ellie, they're chasing. They're on hot pursuit. They're almost to the camp at this point. Let's say what's the name is also having a baby, and the baby's already here though. They named the baby and everything like that. But Owen is, lost because he's having like this mid-crisis moment and everything like that, and it's sad, but it's what he's having. And when I mean sad, I don't mean like in the sense of like, oh, it's sad for Owen. No, I mean like it's sad that you're having this at this particular moment. Like you're the one who's really going through it. Type moments. So I say the fight begins, but I say the fight doesn't begin in the camp because it would just be a massacre and everything like that. I say the fight begins in a different camp, a smaller camp, where it's just Abby and her friends, the two other characters. I can't remember the names. I'm so sorry. I think Lee or Levin or something like that. I can't remember. I don't remember those characters, and then we get to this part, the big fight scene. Let's say it just starts off with them having like a nice little talk, and it's supposed to be just nice and everything, but then a gunfire. That's all you hear is gunfire. Then we switch to Ellie, which is breaking in and also shooting her way through with Tommy, and I can't remember the boyfriend's name, the boyfriend of the girl that she was dating and all that. Yeah, they're shooting their way through basically. So then as we get into this, we have Abby somewhere kind of far off while it's happening. So she knows the fight is going on, but she doesn't know who it is. So we would get to play with both of them, and we would know that they're going to meet eventually. And so as Tommy does most of the killing, I would have Tommy do most of the killing instead of Ellie. I would have Tommy basically mercilessly killing, or not mercilessly killing, but getting to Abby basically. He would kill, like the regular soldiers that you would normally run across, even though the game is supposed to say, oh, it's just a small camp. Obviously, we need somebody to do for gameplay reasons. Somebody to kill for gameplay reasons. I said do. But we get to Ellie finally getting to Abby, and she sees it in her. She's like, you're a lot like me, something like that. And she says, I'm nothing like you, as they begin their fight. They should fight, and as they fight, we get to see the difference that Abby is completely better than Ellie because she has military training, while Ellie doesn't. Ellie just was trained to fight, yes, but she doesn't have anything, no real qualities to help with an army person, you know what I'm saying? So then, as this fight continues on, we get to the point where I say something along the lines of this happens. While the fight continues on for, I say a good while now, I say the whole segment should be a good 9 minutes of a good fight between the two, with other characters jumping in occasionally before getting pushed out of the way. So the two characters, Abby and Ellie, are fighting, and you're switching between two of them. You switch from gameplay of just shooting at each other, trying to hit each other, to eventually losing your guns, to having a fist fight, similar to the whole Joel fight. But the only difference is you can switch between both of them, and the outcome will still be the same. The outcome would be this. The fight ends with the gun being pointed. Only one of them have the gun, and it would be Ellie. I'm sorry, it would be Abby that holds the gun to Ellie's head, ready to pull the trigger, but doesn't because she understands one thing. Because she's finally now understanding what Joel was trying to tell her that she was not listening to the first time. And as that goes down, she has this moment, she finally lets go. She's fully let go of it. If she hasn't already, she's now starts to fully let go of it. As she has this moment of letting go and telling what's name about it, she says, let's say, something about Joel, and it pisses Ellie off, and she's like, you know nothing about him. Takes the gun, let's say, shoots her a good 2-3 times. Once in the thigh, once in the stomach, once in the shoulder. Why? It's not the killing shot, but it definitely is to show that she is going to hurt her. As she begins to do for the final shot to the head, the dog pops up again. The dog interferes. As the dog interferes, she tries to kick the dog off, but she shoots the dog. Once she shoots the dog, there's no more bullets in the chamber for the gun. Ellie and Abby get back up for one more fight, and as they fist fight for the final time in this part, instead of a lake and all that, they would just be purely fist fighting, and it would just be a slobber knock between the two, of switching between each time someone gets knocked down, you're switching to the opposite person. So basically, if, let's say, you knock down Abby, immediately you switch to Abby to hit until Ellie gets knocked down, and you just keep going back and forth. At this point, it's just no one has enough strength to really keep going like this. Abby's shot, she's bleeding profusely, but she's still fighting. What's her name's arm is broken. Ellie's right arm is broken, and she's still fighting though, because she still has to. It's nothing much else she can really do. And as they both lay on the ground, one's bleeding out, one can barely feel one of her arms still trying to fight still. She picks up a knife and gets ready to do the final kill before someone stops her. And the person that would stop her would have to be someone that they didn't know was actually riding with him or was actually really close than they thought. It's a memory of Jewel that stops her. Always riding with her the whole time without her even knowing. Not actual Jewel, it's a memory of Jewel. It's a thought of Jewel. Before she's about to slash her throat, she doesn't. She drops the knife. Both of them sit there as they both hurt. She tells her to leave. She said this is what Jewel would have wanted, because he was trying to spare you the first time. Abby gets up, bleeding, walking away. Surviving by barely, but she's able to survive, and then we get into the end of it. The end of it would go a little like this. How it would go is simple, that Ellie would be playing the guitar or enjoying time with the baby, with the boyfriend also there too, plus Tommy, everyone else. Everyone have forgotten, but not interacting with each other about the death. She's able to play the guitar for the baby as I live in this nice little home away from it all. Abby, on the other hand, knows that she may have not done the right thing by killing Joel, but she at least was forgiven by Ellie for it and wasn't killed when she could have been killed just like him. And the game would end with each character in tandem, sitting, enjoying the life that they have, knowing that they both lost someone very dear to them. Oh, and if you're wondering, I would also change one other minor thing that even I just stated. I would have made it where the dog didn't die, where Owen may have died, because of one minor thing. Owen's character to me, I didn't like in the regular game, so he would probably be the only character that I would see as like someone worthy of killing in that thing. Even though you would say, well, doesn't that continue the cycle? Yes, but I wouldn't make Ellie do it. I would have Tommy do it. That would be the only minor thing I would tweak about everything I just stated. But overall, that's what I would do for the game. I think it would chopped up to I think that's a good 3-hour, 5-hour game at best, maybe even 6 if someone can extend the gameplay sections about a few things, add a few extra little collectibles and stuff like that. So I think someone could stretch it out for a good 10 hours, even longer. Everything I just stated, just add a little more filler to it, and I think this would have been a better game overall instead of what we got. So the story would end with each character forgiving the opposite of everything that happened, but just not talking to each other because there's really no reason for them to be friends. Really no reason. And that's how I think the game should have gone. That's my little synopsis of everything. Apologize if it's too long. Apologize for just using the same picture for everyone. And if you really couldn't hear me too much, I do apologize. I have moments of talking extremely low. And if I said too many ums, oohs, ahs, whatever else, who's, what's, when, where, I do apologize. I will try to work on this to do better so I can do better content for this. And I will try to go with, obviously, my own little thumbnail, my own little pictures to pause on. But tell me what you thought. If you sat through this whole thing, tell me what you thought. Tell me what I could have done to make this better. If you liked it, tell me, should I continue doing things like this? Should I just stop and just continue to just play video games? Please tell me. Other than that, enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Goodbye.